like to welcome you to the Board of Education regular meeting, April 24th, 2024. Are we in compliance with open meeting laws?
Yes, we are.
Marvelous. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Here.
Szilagyi. Ray.
Here.
Wyman.
Here?
Carlin. Here. DeWitt. Here. Herzog.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful. And now I'd like to welcome Evan Coleman and Charlie Mulvey, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. They are from Roosevelt School.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Part of our meeting. And thank you, Evan. Really appreciate it. Have a good rest of the school year. Thank you very much. And now we'd like to welcome Kristen Berger, principal of Roosevelt. Give us some highlights.
Yes, absolutely. Like the busiest night of the year. It's the best one, right? So yes, I'm Kristen Berger. I'm the principal at Roosevelt. I have 3 highlights for you, kind of a school, student, and teacher highlight of all the great things happening. As part of a school today, we were able to experience Opera for the Young. So on behalf of the SOAR grant we received and our PTO support, we bring in the Opera for the Young every year. So it's a musical opportunity for our students to be exposed to the opera and some of our students to participate. So our 5th graders you saw, they had the opportunity to participate in that today. So they had singing roles and choreography and things that they practice outside of school and then come and perform. And it was definitely a highlight, especially all those young kids that maybe have never seen that before. We have a lot of newcomers at our school and they were glued to that stage today. They just thought it was the best thing ever. So just seeing them light up in that musical experience was really cool. And then as part of a student celebration, this school year we've been able to bring in the RISE intervention program to 3 of our grade levels this school year. So we previously did it in 3rd grade. We just wrapped up a session with 2nd, and we're currently doing it in 4th grade to really focus on those literacy gaps and improving student achievement. And within that, when our 2nd grade students recently finished, we had 93% of our 2nd grade students grew in their literacy level in just that 6 weeks alone. And 73% grew on that spelling inventory, which is a very targeted assessment to look at those areas of where they need to grow next. So that was very exciting to see. Our staff has really embraced a lot of what that RISE program brings to small group instruction and meeting students' needs and where they're at. So we're embodying a lot of that into our small group work in the classroom too at all of our grade levels. And then finally, a teacher celebration. We were lucky enough to, our own Olivia Hootman was named one of UWO's Educators of the Year just about a month ago at the Celebrate Education event. So her dedication to not only the community but our school is outstanding. So being able to recognize and honor all that she does is a great thing.
That's wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming tonight. Next, we would like to honor our employees of the year.
So if I could please ask Carla Huzenga to join me up at the table. Do you want to do pictures first?
Yeah.
Okay. So please join me in recognizing Carla Huzenga, a 1st grade teacher at Emmeline Cook Elementary, as a 2024 Elementary Teacher of the Year. Carla is an innovative, resourceful, collaborative, and passionate educator who enriches the lives of her students daily. In the classroom, Carla is a master at creating engaging, interactive lessons that spark joy in learning. She seamlessly embraces new technology, curricula, and ideas in innovative ways. From coding robots to explore cardinal directions, to empowering students as active school citizens through letter writing campaigns to the principal, Carla finds creative ways to tap into every student's interests and making learning exciting. A perfect example is how she took her students' book-inspired drawings and brought them to life using computer animation. The students found this so exciting, and it gave them a new perspective on the wonderings of reading. Carla's creative, student-centered approach empowers every child to see learning as an adventure to embrace. Carla also turns any moment into a teaching opportunity, whether practicing literacy with hallway signs or connecting field trips with the Barlow Planetarium to classroom concepts. Collaboration is also at the core of Carla's approach. She regularly partners with specialists to provide enriching, cross-curricular lessons and in the library. Her enthusiasm for literacy is contagious as she highlights exciting books. Most importantly, Carla teaches with immense care, compassion, and consistency. She makes meaningful connections with each student, leading by example with warmth and respect for all. Carla's passion for helping every child learn and grow shines through her kindness and patience. Carla exemplifies our district's mission, enriching our community by empowering students to lead creative, purposeful lives. Thank you.
Congratulations.
And next, if we can ask Rachel Tigert to join. So please join me in recognizing Rachel Tigert, a second grade teacher at Lakeside Elementary, as a 2024 Elementary Employee of the Year. Rachel's journey at Lakeside has been nothing short of remarkable. As a second grade teacher, she has not only welcomed every challenge with open arms, but has also embraced every opportunity to make a lasting impact on the lives of her students. From the very beginning of the school year, Rachel demonstrates her eagerness to create an inclusive and supportive environment for all students, including those with special needs. She tirelessly collaborates with colleagues and eagerly seeks out ways to enhance the learning experience for every child under her care. Rachel's dedication extends far beyond the classroom walls. She has forged deep connections with both students and staff, inspiring countless individuals with her infectious positivity and unwavering support. She also regularly attends student events outside of school hours, which always brings a proud smile to her students' faces as they see her supporting them. But perhaps what truly sets Rachel apart is her innate leadership and humility. She has been an active participant in various school communities and initiatives, demonstrating a willingness to lead and innovative. Rachel's humility shines through in her constant pursuit of growth and improvement, always seeking feedback and striving to be the best educator she can be. Rachel also has a deep respect and appreciation for her colleagues. She values every member of educational team, recognizing the importance of collaboration and mutual respect in achieving their shared goals. Rachel is not just an exceptional educator, but she is a beacon of inspiration and positivity. Her impact in the Lakeside school community is immeasurable. And next, Shayna Renard. Please join me in recognizing Shayna Renard, Dean of Students at Oshkosh West High School, as a 2024 Secondary Employee of the Year. As Dean of Students, Shayna navigates challenging situations with exceptional grace and an unwavering commitment to every student's growth. Shayna's approach of accountability through engagement is truly inspirational. She invests time understanding each student's needs, ensuring they learn from mistakes in a supportive environment that promotes improvement. Shayna masterfully balances high accountability with high support. She is a trailblazer in equity, diversity, and inclusion, Shayna has implemented strategies to address issues such as harassment, including the development of responsive learning modules. These modules not only hold students accountable for their actions, but they also help them understand the impact of their behavior, promoting a restorative approach to discipline. Shayna's learning modules have also received district-wide recognition, serving as a model to replicate and expand throughout our district to foster a more restorative environment where learning supersedes punitive measures in addressing behavioral issues. Shayna also collaborates extensively, empowering teachers with support while engaging families as partners in developing solutions. As a member of the CARE team, Pupil Services team, Wildcat Way team, and Equity team at West, she consistently champions efforts to make learning inclusive, accessible, and enjoyable for all. Shayna truly embodies our core mission as a mission keeper. Her dedication to student success, commitment to diversity, and an innovative leadership has profound impact on the Oshkosh West High School and our district. She cultivates an atmosphere of accountability balanced with empathy and understanding. And next, if we can have Rick Webster join us. Please join me in recognizing Rick Webster, a Spanish teacher at West High School, as a 2024 Secondary Employee of the Year. Rick is a veteran educator who continually promotes growth in himself and those around him, with a special focus on equity and inclusion. In the classroom, Rick's energy and humor create an engaging learning environment. He seamlessly integrates technology, willingly adapts curriculum and assessments to meet students' needs, and goes above and beyond, including being his department's handyman. He's cut large whiteboards into individual whiteboards for all students, created erasers for those whiteboards, assembled furniture for classrooms, and even built high-rise tables to better view in his classroom. Simply put, if it needs to get done, Rick is going to get it done, and if there isn't a budget, he's going to find a way. Rick has a similar all-in approach to looking out for his school community. His compassion and care for students and staff is unmatched. He greets students in the halls, checks in on struggling students, and he is a trusted adult who students confide in. The same level of comfort is extended to his coworkers, as Rick has developed many relationships expanding far beyond his department. However, Rick's true impact extends far beyond his classroom walls. He is a passionate advocate for equity, serving on West's equity team and bravely challenging accepted norms through that lens. Rick also empowers students as a leader of the Youth to Youth Advocates for Justice group, helping to give them a voice. And with staff, he has led powerful book studies to offer a supportive space to learn and grow after hours. Rick is a respected voice who uplifts those around him through authentic relationship building. He is a collaborator who works tirelessly through his words and actions to make West School community more equitable and inclusive each day. Thank you. And next, if Emma Hill can join. Please join me in recognizing Emma Hill, a media assistant at Emmeline Cook Elementary School, as a 2024 Support Staff Employee of the Year. As the library media assistant at Emmeline Cook, Emma has transformed the school's library into a vibrant hub of literacy and learning. With her calm demeanor and positive enthusiasm, Emma ensures that libraries run smoothly and is a welcoming space where students want to be. She has implemented fantastic organizational systems while finding innovative ways to get kids excited about reading. One of Emma's outstanding qualities is her overwhelming commitment to extending students' literacy abilities beyond the classroom. She goes above and beyond in ensuring that students have access to resources, that they will enjoy reading and books that will deepen their understanding of authors, illustrators, and genres. Her efforts have significantly enhanced students' ability to navigate the library effectively and develop an understanding and interest level of what they enjoy reading. Moreover, Emma excels in building meaningful relationships with her students through her engaging presentations and book-related activities. Whether through captivating book talks, interactive read-alouds, discussion with authors, or highlighting the artistic drawings of illustrators, she consistently captivates students' imaginations and instills in them a genuine passion for literature. Emma's commitment to enhancing literacy experiences extends far beyond library doors. She collaborates meaningfully with staff to integrate literacy across the curriculum. She has also built wonderful relationships with students and staff alike through her warmth and teamwork. In Emma, we find not just an exceptional staff member, but a true inspiration. Her creativity, dedication, and boundless enthusiasm remind us of the transformative power of literacy and the profound impact one individual can have on lives of many.
Very nice.
And next, Melissa Schutenhelm. Please join me in recognizing Melissa Schutenhelm, a media assistant and building assistant at Jefferson Elementary School, a 2024 Support Staff Employee of the Year. Melissa is an innovative member of the Jefferson school community, consistently demonstrating dedication, creativity, and an unwavering commitment to enhancing the educational experiences of our students. One of Melissa's crowning achievements has been establishing the innovative Makerspace program within Jefferson's library. Through hands-on STEM projects, she has transformed the library into a dynamic hub for creativity, critical thinking, and collaborative learning. Melissa excels at building meaningful relationships and making the library an environment students want to be in. Her warmth and genuine care has made her a beloved, trusted adult. She connects with her students, providing guidance, support, and inspiration, while going above and beyond to support struggling readers. Of course, her commitment extends throughout the entire school. Melissa curates book displays tied to cultural events and celebrations. She runs engaging lunchtime maker clubs and personally creates crafts related to read-alouds. Melissa even volunteers her own time and money to enrich the literacy experience. Whether straightening shelves, assisting with technology, matching the perfect book, or implementing innovative programs to promote reading, Melissa's passion shines through. She is a driving force for literacy, doing so much to make reading fun and the library an engaging place of learning. Melissa is a true asset, exemplifying the qualities we hope to inspire in all of our staff. Thank you. And if we can have Cindy Levy join. Please join me in recognizing Sydney Levy, a science teacher at Val Phillips Middle School, as our 2024 First Year Teacher of the Year. In her first year at Val Phillips Middle School and in a teaching profession, Sydney has not only proven herself as an exceptional educator, but also emerged as a beacon of hope and support for students who need it most. Despite being a newcomer to the profession, Sydney has seamlessly integrated herself into the fabric of Val Phillips school community, demonstrating a level of dedication and passion that is truly remarkable. Sydney's ability to connect with even the most challenging students sets herself apart. She goes above and beyond to seek out those in need of support, forgoing deep and meaningful relationships that empower students to strive for success. Her classroom is not just a place of learning, but a sanctuary where every student feels valued and supported. Additionally, Sydney's commitment to academic excellence is unwavering. She maintains high expectations for her students and holds them accountable for their growth and development. Her innovative approach to teaching, including the integration of technology, ensures that her lessons are engaging and impactful. But Sydney's contributions extend far beyond her classroom. She dedicates herself wholeheartedly to the well-being of her students, and their families, offering support and advocacy in times of need. Whether it's staying late to provide a safe space for students or organizing enriching experience outside of the school, Sydney's compassion knows no bounds. Sydney is a true leader in the Val Phillips School community, taking on numerous additional responsibilities with grace and enthusiasm. From volunteering and mentoring programs to organizing school events, Sydney's impact is felt every corner of the campus. It is rare that a first-year teacher comes into this profession and immediately becomes an integral part of the school community in the way that Sydney has. And last but not least, Emily Eisenschenk. Please join me in recognizing Emily Eisenschenk, principal at Reed Elementary School, as the 2024 Administrator of the Year. Emily has brought unparalleled gusto, passion, and dedication to Reed Elementary. From day one, Emily hit the ground running, recognizing her school's strengths while tackling its challenges head-on. Her optimism is truly contagious, setting an energetic and positive tone for the entire school family. Emily leads with remarkable authenticity, transparency, and bravery, unafraid to make tough decisions and change what isn't working for the betterment of Reed students, families, and staff. Under Emily's leadership, Reed has built an incredible new playground, revitalized its PTO into the Reed Rocket Boosters, secured valuable community partnerships, and is changing the narrative around the school. She ensures students are the priority in every decision. An active advocate, Emily has united collaborative efforts between her PTO, UW Oshkosh, local businesses, and more, always thinking big picture to best serve her school population. Most importantly, Emily ignites a contagious passion for learning and teaching. She holds students, families, and staff to the highest expectations because she believes in their unlimited potential. For many students facing difficult life situations, Emily is an incredible role model, showing that with perseverance and a commitment to growth, any obstacle can be overcome. Emily's leadership has been transformative, reigniting Reed's spark and propelling the entire school community and neighborhood, and is in an incredible positive direction. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to all of the award recipients this evening. You are in a class of your own, and we appreciate everything that you do to make our district better and your classrooms better, and most important, our students better. So thank you very much.
And feel free to take recess right now if you'd
Yes.
like. Thank you all for coming.
Crowd has thinned.
Some artworks in there.
All right, Dr. Davis, the land acknowledgement.
Yes, as we gather today, we'd like to acknowledge that in Oshkosh, we are on the ancestral homelands of the Ho-Chunk Nation and the Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin, who lived along the western shores of Lake Winnebago, Wisconsin's largest freshwater lake, entirely within its borders. We acknowledge these indigenous sovereign communities who have stewarded this land throughout the generations and pay respect to their elders, past and present. We welcome the duty and opportunity to share stewardship of these lands.
Marvelous, thank you very much. Approval of agenda. Would anyone like to see anything moved? We did have a request to pull number 13 from the consent agenda.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
Do we have a motion to move it?
I'll make a motion to move it.
Second. Wright and Carlin?
Mhm.
Call the roll.
Ready? Salaji? Oops, sorry. Wright?
Aye.
Gibson?
Aye.
Carlin?
Aye.
DeWitt?
Aye.
Herzog?
Aye.
Hess?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. Board President's report. I'd like to say welcome to our new board. This is our first meeting of the board, and like to thank the previous board for all of the effort that everyone put into making it a great year.
Thank you.
Okay, and now on to retirements. First one, Brenna Garrison Bruden, elementary principal at Carl Traeger. Been there with the district since 2000. Julianne Hale, cross-categorical teacher from Washington Elementary School, 2017. Dinah Trout, assistant cook, Oshkosh West High School, 2001. Marjorie Hunt, cook helper, middle school and high school, Oshkosh West High School, 2007. Rebecca Cleven, school secretary, Franklin Elementary School, 1995. Cindy Shake, building assistant, Franklin Elementary School, 2000. Patricia Smith, cook helper, middle school and high school, Oshkosh West High School, 2012. And Kristen Walker. Kristen has been very busy. She's a health teacher, a Phi Ed teacher, a health education coordinator, and the location is Bell Phillips Middle School and the central office at Bell Phillips, or at the central office here. And she's been with the district since 1996. Would anyone like to say anything about our retirees? Dr. Herzog.
Thank you very much. I've had the pleasure of working with several of these people before my first retirement. And once again, we are having the opportunity to thank and acknowledge the contributions that these individuals have made to our students, our families, our staff, and in our community. Brenna Garrison Bruden, I believe, started her career in the district as a teacher. She became principal at Webster Stanley before moving over to Carl Traeger, where she has done an exceptional job. We also have several people retiring from the food service area. I really commend them because there have been so many changes over the years, over the decades in food service, and yet our food service numbers in terms of student participation have gone up despite changes in people's attitudes and choices of food. So I commend all of them who have served in the food service area. Becky Clevin and Cindy Shake have been just outstanding people at Franklin School, making you feel welcome when they come into the building, and they will be missed. So Franklin's office will take on a very different view next year when there are 2 new people in the office, actually 3, with the retirement of Jamie Cole. So the 3 are going out together. And finally, Kristen Walker. I've known Kristen Walker in her days as a health and Phi Ed teacher at Webster Stanley before moving over to Val Phillips, and had the opportunity to work with her in that health coordinator role before my first retirement. So once again, I want to thank these people for their outstanding contributions to our district, to our students, parents, and community, and certainly wish them a long, healthy, and happy retirement.
Well said. Thank you very much, and thank you to all the retirees and all the time they have put into the Oshkosh Area School District. Superintendent's report.
Yeah, we have the superintendent's good news report tonight. So I want to start with just a quick acknowledgement that's not on the slides, but today is Administrative Assistance Day. So I want to recognize Eileen Fitzpatrick, who's over there, for all of her hard work for the board. So thank you. And Sherry Wirtz also for her continued preparation for us and try to keep me on the straight and narrow, which is enough of a task in itself. So just thank you to Sherry also, and to all of our admin assistants throughout the district. So our district cannot run without all of you. So thank you so much for your continued support, and hopefully hopefully everybody had a happy day today. So on to our slides. So a lot of great things going on throughout the Oshkosh Area School District. Oshkosh students once again wowed spectators at the annual Art in the Garden art show. The event showcases local professional and Oshkosh Area high school artists. The public votes on artwork to decide the winning pieces. And this year, numerous students from North and West took home awards in the categories of 2D, 3D, and digital art and photography. So congratulations to all of those award winners. Students at Oakwood Elementary School got their hands dirty for a great cause. With the help of community volunteers, they participated in a hands-on tree planting lesson at the Sheldon Nature Area, our school forest located behind Oakwood. The students eagerly dug in after learning about the school forest, which recently underwent a logging project to halt the spread of the emerald ash borer and promote the long-term health of the area's diverse ecosystem. You can learn more about the Sheldon Nature Area on our website. It's a perfect spot for your next outdoor adventure. So thanks for all the volunteers who helped make that happen. Students at Oshkosh West High School participated in the 3rd annual Diversity Day celebration. During the event, students were invited to watch and engage with performances and presentations from peers and community members. Diversity Day allows students to recognize and engage with cultures of fellow students and community members. Through this unique opportunity, students are able to gain a deeper understanding of each other and to get a first-hand look at the diverse cultures that exist within the Oshkosh community. Students at Val Phillips Middle School had a special opportunity to participate in an authentic mariachi workshop featuring musicians from the University of Texas at Austin. Students were able to develop vocal technique and improve their Spanish language skills. Special shout out to Dr. Fong Nguyen, Val Phillips choir director, on making this experience possible for our students. Our talented Franklin second graders transported guests through history with an incredible living wax museum. After weeks of diligent research, the students transformed into famous figures from the past and present. From George Washington to Albert Einstein to Simone Biles and Taylor Swift, the characters came to life as families strolled through the museum. With costumes, props, and well-rehearsed monologues, our young historians truly embodied their chosen legends. It's incredible to see the opportunities that students who are engaged in our career and technical education classes have. Elizabeth, who is a student at Oshkosh West High School, created a unique collection of Kentucky Derby-inspired hats that are available on the exclusive online auction ahead of our May 3rd Education Foundation Gala to benefit our career and technical education programs. You can learn more about each of these hats and make a bid online. Elizabeth created hats with support of our OASD alums and entrepreneurs, Brandy Whitney of Blonde Russian and Caitlin Stoley of Lily Gilder. So thank you for their continued support. And speaking of the gala, it's time for me to get a new outfit, number one, but still time to grab tickets. There are tickets available. Our May 3rd gala is coming up and bringing excitement again for the Kentucky Derby to finish the Friday, that's actually Friday before the big race. So this is your chance to showcase your finest Derby attire, catch up with friends and community members, enjoy delicious food and themed drinks, all to support a worthy cause. Your attendance supports the vital career and technical education programs in the Oshkosh Area School District, so you can feel good celebrating in style while investing in our future workforce. For more information, including how to purchase tickets, is available on the district website, so we hope to see everybody there. South Park sixth graders recently finished reading the book The Lemonade War, and to celebrate, they had a sixth grade wide lemonade stand. 92 glasses of lemonade were sold, each garnished with a gummy worm to reference one of the events that took place in the book. The students learned valuable teamwork, business management, and advertisement skills. It's a fun activity. It's Mural Week at Reed Elementary School. The school community is so excited to be able to be working with Neo Medina, the Paint Arts Center and Gardens, UW Oshkosh Arts Corps, and many community partners to make this mural a reality. Throughout the week, students will be involved in an immersive and inclusive creation project. The neighborhood celebration to reveal the finished mural will take place next week. So thank you to Neo for his leadership in that activity. We want to remind all families to take our annual climate survey. Families received a link to complete the survey via email in their IC parent portal. It's also available on our website and Facebook page. We appreciate the opportunity to work together with our families to make our schools even stronger for every one of our students. And finally, a list over the last couple of weeks of activities that I've been fortunate enough to be part of across the city. So again, thank you for everybody for their support. And that concludes the superintendent's good news report for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. We'll move on to District Administrator Supplemental Report. First, verbal report from the board listening session of April 10th. Mrs. Conrad Peters.
All right, good evening. On April 10th, we had 4 participants that spoke at our listening session. It was an engaging conversation, and so I will give you the highlights. A flyer for the community read, Punished for Dreaming by Bettina L. Love, will be held during the month of April in the Oshkosh Food Co-op, and that flyer was shared. Comments on the equity plan were shared via a handout. Suggestion to have a start as well as end dates, which indicates we are not waiting to take action, was recommended. Suggestion to include qualitative as well as quantitative data was given. Considering anecdotal data to capture the voices of families and children of color. The equity plan was also identified to be lacking measurables from the starting point to where the goal or the target is. It is an oversight or is it deliberate was asked. Example was given of the CTE programs. Real Oshkosh was commended on their Building Reading and Academic Excellence program. Suggestions that the KPI for reading achievement go up to 15% was also given. Also increase the KPI for the equity plan. This would show the priority. All 4 participants brought forward a concern on police presence in the schools. We were asked to take a look at the data for police contact and citations, a call for qualitative data on the use of police in schools, and when does the school want or allow for police contact or citation. We were asked to proactively seek out the voices and look back on past incidents. So as follow-ups, equity plan was on the April 10th board agenda as a draft, and feedback was taken and applied. We are compiling the data and enrollment trends for CTE by subgroups that was requested, and actions in the equity plan having data attached to them. Drawing the line from the report to the equity plan, and Mrs. Kiffmeyer will be following up with that. Let's see, and then the next one is the district is also currently working on setting thresholds and establishing clear guidance on when SROs are involved, and this is in response to our conversation at the listening session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I believe I have the next
You
one
can
as
stay
well.
right there. Worker compensation claims, quarterly written report.
Right. So this is the 3rd time that I have been before you talking about the mod rate, which happens to be on our strategic plan. Student and staff safety is essential, and the mod rate, or looking at workers' compensation, claims it's a numerical form that notes how we are doing with worker on-site injuries. Staff awareness and training is absolutely key to the prevention of workplace injuries, and creating a culture of safety decreases workers' comp claims and in return lowers premiums. So where we are right now is that the district has a total of over the whole entire school year of 118 workers' compensation claims through this 3rd quarter. This is similar to the number as last year. Total claims incurred is high at this point in time because we do have 1 large potential claim and 1 continuing claim. So we are trending higher with those dollar amounts that were reported to you. Actual claims paid is identified for 3rd quarter and is similar to the same time period last year. So during quarter 3, 26 of the 54 incidents or claims are staff being struck or injured by students. We had discussed this before. And also we track by employee org unit. And so paraprofessionals reported 11 of those incidents or claims. The next piece here is that each incident is reviewed by a supervisor, because we talk about what our action steps are, the building administrator or director, and we are looking for areas of being in compliance and non-compliance. The equity audit and our special education analysis is currently being conducted, and we are anxious to see that report to help us put better safety measures in place specifically for students and staff. And we are currently in consultation with a third party on training and other recommendations as we receive those pieces from the audit.
Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Schmidt, cybersecurity update.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm
evening.
excited to be in front of you again this month to tell you that I have a very boring cybersecurity report.
Yay.
Yes, it is. It is incredibly boring. We continue to conduct training and exercises with our staff. We do phishing simulations on a monthly basis. So our phish rate still remains pretty consistent. We have a few people who we get them every once in a while, but for the most part, and then when they do fall for those, they get follow-up training that goes along with that. And if they do identify something successful, then get a nice little pat on the back. So that part of things has been going very well. We also are we're in our third year of our active cybersecurity planning and response. So we have an updated plan in place. It's on our calendar to do that every 6 months. So our plan has been updated. We've been following those procedures and have those pieces in place. And then we also are working through with a third party, a neutral party evaluator, to go through our policies and procedures and evaluate our cybersecurity posture using what's called the NIST framework. And I had the acronym, and then I lost what that means. But it's essentially like the cybersecurity standards for information technology. So it takes a look at your technical side, but then also what are your policies, what are your procedures, how do you follow through on all of those things. And there's a version of that framework that applies specifically for education. So we're in the process of adapting all of our processes and aligning it to that framework. We should be complete with that in the next couple of months. If the board would like a copy of that report, we could do something in a closed session because of the sensitivity of that report. It's something that we don't want to have public record for obvious reasons, right? So because bad guys can find us, and we don't want to have to deal with that. And then one other piece of information that's in here that's of note. We're in the process this summer. We'll be replacing a key piece of equipment on our network, a firewall, which basically keeps intruders out of our network, and also provides some filtering and things like that to keep our internal users safe, but it's really more of that external-facing tool. We did go through a bidding process for that, and that's E-rate eligible, so we receive reimbursement from the federal government on those. So that's a project that's going to be going on this summer that, again, will increase our posture and help us to modernize our equipment and our infrastructure. So I would entertain any questions that you guys have, or?
Just thank you for being forward-thinking and proactive, so that we don't have to be reactive when something goes south.
I love it when these reports are boring. You're exactly
I
right.
wouldn't call them boring, I'd call them informative. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Mr. Kemmer, student attendance quarterly written report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So in terms of our student attendance key performance indicator, which makes up 15% of our engagement and communication core area of the strategic plan, our attendance rate currently sits at 93.1%, which is above the state average attendance rate of 92.3%. So that holds true and broken down by areas like race, gender, disability status, economic status, and grade level as well. So we're above the state average in most of those areas. So in terms of next steps, our Attendance Matters Committee is going to continue their work to try to continue to improve in this area. And our next meeting is actually tomorrow morning. So we're going to be closing out our plans for this year and reviewing some data and then looking at action steps going into next school year. So along with that, we recently held our county-wide truancy meeting. That's done every 4 years. We hosted that. And the details from that meeting are going to be included on the next board report for attendance.
Questions, comments? I was quite impressed with the numbers.
Yeah.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Could you briefly explain why attendance matters for those who may not know?
Yeah, so Attendance Matters is a committee of individuals. It's made up of district staff and community stakeholders. So we have individuals from the County Department of Human Services, the Police Department, the District Attorney's Office, and others who are interested, some parents across our community. And really it's just a group that comes together to create ways to really promote school attendance in our district. So in the past we've done things like things as simple as creating magnets with school start times on them, rack cards that we could send out to families, all the way to working with businesses to come up with incentives for students who attend school on a regular basis or improve their attendance considerably. So there's a lot of different things. We have some subcommittees within that Attendance Matters Committee that are working on specific areas like transportation. So we're trying to really target school attendance from a lot of different directions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
Next, Dr. Coleman, Mrs. Kiffmeyer, adoption of Study Sync for grades 6 to 8.
All right, good evening to the board and those listening. The presentation and staff report that we will discuss encapsulates ongoing conversations and efforts that we have committed to in service of our reading achievement key performance indicator and to increase literacy outcomes for all students. The Oshkosh Area School District has adopted equity non-negotiables that inform how we make decisions and prioritize our efforts. One of the non-negotiables that we affirm is the following. We are responsible for everything in our control to promote student success through asset-based thinking. There are many factors in our control that have a direct connection to our literacy outcomes. One of those factors is using high-quality instructional materials in all classrooms. As a district, we are committed to providing all students with access to instructional materials and learning experiences that are aligned to grade level standards, that are engaging and appropriately challenging with appropriate support. All students deserve these attributes of a curriculum, and the decision to adopt a curriculum that guarantees these attributes is an important decision for the board to make. We have found that Study Sync is a comprehensive literacy program that meets and exceeds our district's expectations for alignment to Wisconsin's English language arts standards, integrated scaffolds and support, and accessibility for students with varying needs related to ability and linguistic diversity. Study Sync was piloted in the 2022-2023 school year and field tested this year to determine if this program meets the school district's needs and expectations. Upon review of findings, monitoring, and feedback gleaned from the pilot and field test, the OSD administration has full confidence that Study Sync meets the components of a coherent, guaranteed, and viable curriculum. Study Sync has been reviewed and piloted and field tested to inform our recommendation to adopt this program and the instructional materials for grades 6 through 8. I want to give my appreciation to all of the teachers, administrators, to Director Kiffmeyer, and our board members who have been engaged in this ongoing process to review what our literacy program and curriculum looks like at the middle school level and piloting Study Sync. So our administration recommends adoption of Study Sync to be used as the universal English language arts curriculum as instructional materials and curricular resources. I'll yield to Director Kiffmeyer to share a presentation on Study Sync, what we've learned so far, and to reiterate some of the points I just shared.
So we know that our goal is to be college, career, and community ready, correct? So with our goal of that, we want to make sure that our students are ready with reading and writing as well. So our goal is to make sure that they're analytical and critical thinkers and able to communicate, collaborate, and question with perspectives so that they can be ready for the ever-changing world. So why did we look at Study Sync? The main purpose that we looked at Study Sync was that it's a universal grade level, rigorous, comprehensive curriculum that has scaffolds, varied text differentiation, and equitable access for all through that scaffold and differentiation. The key to this is that it really does align our goals of targeted small group instruction to close achievement gaps through the balance of classic and comprehensive texts. That's over 10,000 different text selections within Study Sync that can be used for our teachers grades 6 through 8. It's a viable and guaranteed curriculum. It aligns to the Common Core. It also has been vetted through national curriculum experts. An example of that is through Ed Reports, where they include quotes such as texts included are engaging and appropriate for grade level. Instructional materials include instruction, practice, and authentic application of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And usability components of the program are supportive of teachers' abilities to implement with fidelity. It also aligns to the science of reading, which we know is something that we're working towards. What we've learned in the process from the field test that we did all year, so all of our 6/8 teachers did the field study of Study Sync, that it is a spiraling curriculum that allows students multiple opportunities to show proficiency, which we know is really important to give our kids opportunities to practice and then re-practice those skills to show proficiency. It's challenging grade level texts that foster students' critical thinking. We also found that our common formative assessments that we started as well this year need to better align to the Study Sync scope and sequence. And if it's adopted, that's some of the work that we have for our summer work with our teachers to be able to align the CFAs with that. We also know that professional development is imperative so that teachers feel prepared and ready to deliver the curriculum. So that's also work that we would continue to work on over the summer. And then staff and student feedback we use to develop our summer plan and address the areas that there were concerns. So I'm not going to read for you the staff and student feedback necessarily, but they mirror each other. There's pros and cons to every curriculum that you get. There is not one curriculum that you can adopt that's going to satisfy every need that you have. And so the goal is to look at, do the pros outweigh the cons, and is it a comprehensive grade level rigorous curriculum, which we believe Study Sync is. What I think is really interesting is the student and staff feedback really does mirror the same pros and cons. The voice and choice that the teachers were worried about is also what students also had as a con for the Study Sync program, which we have a plan to address in the summer. And then the pros were very similar, like the varied genres of text, that it was engaging, that it was rigorous, that students said that it was difficult at times, which we want to see our kids have that productive struggle in. So then what are our action steps that we have? Thank you. Is that for our summer curriculum work, if we adopt it, we have identified ways to increase student engagement, selecting and incorporating a book club or a novel study so that incorporates the voice and choice, as well as some of the teachers had concerns that they weren't reading a book cover to cover. And so we want to make sure that we put that into practice. So our plan would be to be selecting those by grades. So there'd be a list that summer work for teachers would, 6th grade would have this choice of list, 7th grade would have these choice, and so on and so forth for that voice and choice. Assessments was another concern. We talked about aligning the CFAs already.
What's a CFA?
The common formative assessments that they gave monthly.
The other part of the assessment is there is some assessment fatigue for our students. They're getting common formative assessments. They're getting the diagnostics 3 times a year as well with our iReady data, along with their regular tests that they take and unit assessments that they take. And so we want to make sure that we, instead of look at just doing them monthly, we want to look at really aligning to the units of study. So they would take them 4 times a year and make sure those standards really align as we do those common formative assessments. We also want to make sure our unit pacing aligns with the forward testing to make sure we're covering as much of what they'll see on the forward testing at the right times and not hitting big, large components after the forward testing. And then, as I mentioned before, we had 10,000 anchor texts to look through. We did do the best that we could, given the fact we had a short time to kind of plan and implement the field study. So we determined anchor texts for units 2, 3, and 4. But with 10,000 texts, we'd like to have some more time to look through that to see if we determine the best anchor text or mentor text for our students. And so that summer work and professional development was identified by our staff. And so the key would be our groups of teachers would be working on student engagement at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for the units of study, as well as looking at best practice for small group instruction that aligns to those units of study, and then accessing our Study Sync representatives to get some more training on how to use the resources, differentiation, and scaffolds that are already in Study Sync. We really feel like we've just tipped the surface of what it offers, given the time constraints, and that's what summer's really there for. Questions?
Dr. Herzog.
Thank you.
Mr. Wright.
And I appreciate your report. I've had an opportunity as recently as this afternoon to be in a middle school 6th grade classroom for a lesson on Study Sync to 2 different groups of students. It had to do with the labeling is very different than what I was used to as a classroom teacher, but essentially it was looking for the main idea and finding supporting evidence. And I was very impressed with the materials. They appeared, I flipped through the entire book, they appeared to be very rigorous, which is something that I think is really important. In a prior life, when I was a classroom teacher and then a assistant principal in a junior high school, we had some middle school students who thought their curriculum should be less than what was expected of the other kids in the grade level, and we did not approve of that interpretation. We expected all students to be able to meet rigorous content standards. And I think from the little bit I saw today, that would be the case. I've had a chance to talk with 2 principals, 2 middle school principals, one on each side of the river, and they were both very positive about this program. One of my questions is then, how many people would be involved in the summer curriculum work?
If it was adopted, we actually have our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers like chomping at the bit to like pick what sections they can work on.
Okay.
So we're going to leave it open to as many teachers as that want to work on that work. We know that investment in the development is really important and a process to go through that. So with the work of our director, myself, as well as our coordinator at the literacy secondary coordinator, supporting that work, it's open to anyone who wants to do that work.
Very good. And I want to give a shout out to those who are chomping at the bit to do this in the summer, and also suggest, as you all know, sitting at the table, the importance of adequate and quality professional development. I always feel that you cannot have enough good communication, good chocolate, and good professional development, not necessarily in that order. But it is so critical that if we purchase something, but we don't provide adequate professional development, and by that I mean where the teachers feel competent and comfortable wandering through these 10,000 titles and whatever other resources are there, then we can't expect the results that were part of the research that has deemed this to be a quality program for our students. So professional development needs to be ongoing. It needs to be tailored to adult learners, as we know. And so obviously that needs to be ongoing. And so I'm happy to support this recommendation moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Wright.
To me, this is a very important decision because each one of these curriculum approvals is a building block that will help or won't help us get towards our literacy goals or targets. My kids obviously used my kids used Study Sync for the year. I've had a whole bunch of kids, parents, teachers contact me, and I've received feedback on Study Sync. So I have a few questions based on a lot of the information I've received. Because this is, approving this stuff or not, what is crucial. And I know the staff's put so many hours into it. I was with some of the people that piloted this, and they talked to me about how they put so many hours into it that would just be hard not to, even though there are pros and cons to this. So my one question, I guess, to start off with, through that pilot, was there data to support growth in all students?
Well, I think one of the big pieces that we're waiting on is the forward testing data to see what our results end up with that, because the window isn't closed yet, so we obviously haven't gotten any results back from the state on that. I can share with you that depending on how implementation happened at the classroom level is going to give you variables for your results on your data. Along those lines, I think it's really important to understand that we had some really high achieving results. We have 72% in some of our grade levels reaching proficiency, and we had some very stagnant results in some classrooms as well. And I think that aligns to Dr. Herzog talking about professional development and ongoing professional development. I will own the fact that taking this role, I assumed the rollout was going to be different, and they were more prepared to roll out Study Sync than they were, which is why Unit 1 was very tricky to navigate, and I think a lot of the negative feedback came from. And I'm really proud of the fact that our ISTs and our teachers and myself dug in for Units 2 through 4, and we have, I think, much better results going forward, and our CFAs would support that as well.
Okay, thank you. My next question is just, and you can answer this with whatever your thoughts are. I've heard, and this is what I've heard, that Study Sync works great for kids that are grade level or above, but kids that are below grade level, and we have a lot of kids that are below grade level, that it's a lot more challenging to get those kids to where they need to be. So will Study Sync work for all kids, or will it work for kids that are at grade level or above?
Both. So one of the things that Director Kiffmeyer mentioned is the scaffolds and supports that are built into Study Sync. And so is it the perfect way to make sure that all students can access the curriculum? No, there will need to be additional and creative strategies to support students who are not at grade level. One of the things that I think is important for the board to acknowledge and for teachers to acknowledge is that we are functioning within a system. And so our goal is to adopt a curriculum that is rigorous and to also prepare students at the elementary school level to come to 6th grade ready to do grade level work. So at the same time that we are working to ensure that there's a guaranteed curriculum across all of our middle schools that are at grade level, we're doing the same work right now at our elementary schools. So it is true that we have many students in our system that don't have the skill levels yet to perform at grade level, and we are working with urgency to correct that and to address that through curriculum adoption processes like this, and one that'll be coming to you in about a year for our elementary curriculum. So it is true that the curriculum is rigorous, and we want rigorous curriculum because we believe that all of our students can meet and exceed high expectations with the appropriate supports.
I would also add the fact that philosophically we've taken a look at the fact that some of our students who have gaps in their achievement and are below grade level, we've met them where they're at, which is important, but not expose them to the grade level curriculum, but expect them to perform on a state test at grade level expectations. And so by providing that universal instruction at grade level rigorous curriculum to all our students, and then layering in the scaffolds, the differentiation, and the small group instruction that's critical to close those gaps, they will be able to achieve.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's all I have for now. I'm looking forward to seeing forward data and how the curriculum's layered, I guess, to meet all students' needs. So, thanks.
Mr. Hess, Dr. Hess.
Thank you. I got a couple questions and a few comments for you. First, this is Study Sync is by McGraw-Hill, right? So we're purchasing a subscription, and any sense of, do we get locked in for a period of time, or what is the minimum period of time that we can choose to acquire this subscription?
Sure. So the vendor is flexible. Typically, we want to make a multi-year commitment. So we have options if we want to purchase a subscription for 3 years or for 5 years. Obviously, the more years that we commit to at one time, the more affordable the rate is. But we can certainly be flexible with that.
This is how I think about this. Before, during the election, I had a number of teachers reach out to me and express concerns about English language arts being almost entirely taught on the Chromebook. And I didn't fully understand what they were saying, and I don't know that they were exactly saying this either, but it made me think about that. And then at the education committee, I saw the teachers talking about this, and to some extent I look and say, those teachers were talking to their boss's boss, their boss's boss's boss, and their boss's 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 bosses in the entire school board. And when you do that, you're going to be very careful and reserved in how you make comments. And that one gentleman came in with a note card written down, and that seemed to be consistent with some teachers may have some substantial reservations about this. And so from my perspective, I concur with Chris in terms of, if you wanted me to say yes to this, the first thing that I would want to see is exactly, show me some data. And in the report we talked about, I appreciate the forward exam would be great, but that we're going to be waiting till December or November for us to get that. Maybe you guys have access to it earlier, but in terms of the public, we can't wait that long. In the board report, you have identified the iReady as an alternative solution, and so I would say, geez, can you guys come and show me some iReady results that clearly demonstrate that this is effective? That one of the problems that I have with any curriculum or anything like this is, for example, McGraw-Hill has the money to go out, and when they do their studies, they are going to get the most motivated teachers to do everything exactly right, per se. Not to say that there's anything wrong with our teachers, but oftentimes you're going to see a difference in the field test from what they're going to come and sell this to you with, and so be it. So I really would like to see kind of local data showing, hey, we've got some evidence that this is truly working. Now, maybe we don't see that. That, to me, isn't enough to completely forego this. My next thing then would be, I really want to see that the teachers are excited by this, that you can have great curriculum. And I think in the education committee, we heard the Traeger teachers talk about, we need to make sure all the teachers are excited by this. And I agree with that. I don't know that you can force people to be excited by it, but just they really need to want this. I believe in the teachers having this effectiveness experience, believing everything is right, believing in everything that they're doing. And so I wonder, can we get some survey of all the 6th through 8th grade literacy teachers and just ask them the question, would you want to do this? And And I do appreciate that you've shown me a lot more than just what was initially in there, and so I better understand. I would like to see what percentage of the teachers are actually excited to do this, because if only 15% of the teachers say they want to use this curriculum, I'm going to go, geez, guys, maybe this isn't the right curriculum. But so first, it's data showing efficacy. If I don't see that, I at least want to know the teachers are excited by this. And if I don't have that, then what I would kind of ask of you all is, well, maybe we consider another year's worth of a field test. Maybe we only commit to one more year. And then I would say, well, let's really bring in a solid evaluation plan that I can appreciate that you guys put in a lot of effort into this, and I don't want to not approve something that I know to be effective. But I also, on the other hand, don't want to approve something that maybe isn't effective per se. And so if we don't have those first two pieces, then I could still get behind it as long as I have an understanding of what measures are we going to do over the course of the next year to truly make sure that we've made the right decision. And especially if I have the flexibility to only lock in for an additional year, I would be more comfortable with that. Now, your final option is I'm just one of 7 board members, so you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. Maybe the board will support you regardless, but that's how I think about it in terms of a data guy. So,
Sure.
But thank you.
Madam President, may I respond to some of these
Yes, you may.
questions? Dr. Hess, a couple of things that I want to commit to. First of all is we are committed to receiving the feedback from teachers, certainly reservations as well as appreciations for the curriculum, and using that feedback not just now, but over time to address concerns and to refine professional development and the support that we provide our teachers. So we will continue to make it a point to hear from teachers and to get feedback as we implement this curriculum and hopefully move forward with this adoption. And then using that feedback to strengthen and refine how we support teachers. The second commitment is bringing information back to the board, and this could be through the Education Committee, with what we're learning as we implement this curriculum. One of the concerns or cautions that I'd like to offer is for us to make a direct correlation between the curriculum that we're using and results on a forward exam. First of all, that would take at least 3 to 5 years of implementation, professional development, and systemization of this resource. So those are probably not going to be results that we'll see in a year, that we can definitively say this resource created this impact on the forward exam. It takes time to do that. And we are committed to being honest about our results and being honest about what we know contributes to forward exam results and what doesn't. As I've talked about in other settings about curriculum adoption work, is we know that the curriculum is one aspect that we can say makes a significant difference in student outcomes, and then so is the teaching and learning aspect and the strategies used to facilitate the curriculum, which again, we know we need to give our teachers grace and time to learn those strategies so that we can truly say with confidence results that we're seeing on standardized tests or iReady can be correlated to the resource that we adopted. So I would ask that we would commit the grace and the time necessary to do this well. I also hesitate to make a one-year commitment or a commitment that might suggest that if we don't see the results that we would anticipate right away, that we're going to back off. Because that may have implications as well. What I want to communicate to our teachers who are putting in the work is that we are committed to making a decision that might produce results that we don't want to see right away. We call those implementation dips, and it is possible we might see an implementation dip. Certainly we don't want to, but that might happen. And if so, we are prepared to work through those dips by gathering feedback, continuing to be present in classrooms so that we can make the necessary adjustments. But I caution against a short-term commitment that might signal to teachers, if this doesn't go well at first, that we'll abandon, we'll jump ship and try out something else. That's something I want us to be thoughtful about.
Can I respond back?
Sure.
I appreciate what you're saying, Sam, and Dr. Coleman, sorry.
Thank you.
I don't necessarily believe that, well, one, when I look at McGraw-Hill and I look at all publishers, when they do these things, they do see their increased results in a year's time. So other studies can do that. I totally understand what you're saying, that maybe we're not going to see it the first year, maybe we're not going to see it the second year. And I'm not saying that I would only be willing to support 1 year at a time. I'm definitely open to you convincing me otherwise, per se. But I'm going to struggle a little bit with saying that it's not possible to see something within a single year when I know that the majority of these curriculum studies are done in a 1 year's time. Admittedly, they've got the money to bring in a lot of teachers to do a lot of this stuff. We're limited to our sample size here in this particular school district. I understand all of that, but it is possible to see some change in curriculum. And that too is why I was saying that it's not just about the iReady result or the forward result, but also understanding the teacher's support in this and the entirety of the environment. So I'm not saying that what I laid out for you is the only path to get me to vote on it, but those are kind of how I think about these sorts of things. But I appreciate everything that you've given me. I appreciate all the work that you have all done in doing this stuff. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Salaji?
Yeah. I was just going to agree with Dr. Coleman as a former middle school ELA teacher, one who did see curriculum adoption change 2 years in a row. Actually, that was when I was at a high school level before I went to the middle school, but it is not good for students to have curriculum adoptions that only last 1 year. After that experience, I did go to a middle school. Yeah, after I heard someone chuckle after that experience, I did find a different school to teach at. There were 3 of us teachers that all taught the exact same curriculum. We collected data on how our students did, and we all got different results, even though we used the exact same curriculum. And I really appreciated what Dr. Coleman said about teacher support. When you see that teachers use the same curriculum and get different results, what's needed is teacher support. So I really think that is what is key here. I have a middle school student. He's the oldest of 5, so I will also have 4 more middle school students. So this is really personal to me, especially with my oldest, where, yeah, it's really personal. This is really important that we get this right. And I trust that if we are doing the teacher support and we have a good curriculum, we'll get the results that we want. When students don't grow, when students in my classroom didn't show growth, or when they couldn't demonstrate that they mastered a standard, it was my responsibility as a teacher to reteach the curriculum, to adjust the curriculum, to do everything I could to make those students meet the standards and make that data show that they were growing. So while data is super important, and I really appreciate the focus on data, I just want to emphasize that I think the teacher support here piece is what's really going to make the difference. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Anyone down here?
I do have a comment, I think. In scrolling through the minutes that we're going to approve tonight, I think it's a little bit poignant that one of our meetings that we're approving the minutes for was with Ted from CISA 6, and he was talking about to us on March 7th about the keys to excellence for school boards. And one of them is staying above the line. And this is accomplished by providing leadership through policy, getting results, and strategy. And what that means is we need to really think about the board responsibilities and stay above the line. And I view some of the questions that we were asking tonight about the curriculum, I think that might be below the line, because I'm not a curriculum expert. We rely on you guys to do the homework and whatnot, so I'm kind of struggling to see what is in the realm of board responsibility versus operational responsibility. And I do think it's important that we recognize that and stay above the line. I appreciate the comments and the questions that were asked tonight, but ultimately, our role is to provide policy and oversee the superintendent. So I'm going to trust that you guys have done your homework. And I also appreciate that you guys have spent many hours on this, and I'm looking forward to moving forward with this curriculum. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Facilities and Finance Committee, Dr. Herzog.
Thank you, Mrs. Wyman. Since, excuse me, since the last Facilities and Finance Committee report, we've had 3 meetings, so I have 3 sets of minutes, and I will try to be brief.
Perfect.
So the first one was on March 14th, Thursday, March 14th, 7:30 in the morning. First item of business that day was banking recommendations. Several banks had submitted proposals to be our facility for our funds, and 3 were chosen for interviews, and Nicolay Bank ended up being recommended. Second, we talked about Phase 2 planning, branding, and messaging preview. Updates were made to the district's website for easier access to boundary lines, as well as the improvements and current states of the facilities throughout the district. Mr. Nehans talked about debt prepayment. Information was presented showing that a prepayment of $17 million would save the district $1.1 million in interest and generate an additional $3.4 million in state aid. Dr. Davis also talked with us about community development. Mr. Fox, excuse me, gave an update on the Merrill School deconstruction project. We talked about access to furnishings and also future development of the site. We also talked about upcoming requests for an RFP information for non-destructive harvesting of furniture and casework, as well as full deconstruction and then lead remediation and asbestos abatement. The target is to have the RFPs out for bid by late April, with full deconstruction occurring approximately over or past Labor Day of this year. Excuse me. Mr. Fox also shared with us plans for multi-site asphalt overlay and concrete replacement bid for the summer. The recommendation was to go with Parking Lot Maintenance LLC. And finally, Mr. Schmidt talked with us about a middle school Chromebook purchase. 3 proposals were received, and upon review, IT Savvy was recommended for the purchase of the middle school Chromebooks. We met again on Thursday, April 11th. Mrs. Conrad Peters presented an update on boundary lines for primarily the elementary schools. An interactive map has been added to the district website to locate each school site assigned to all household addresses within the Oshkosh area school district boundaries. And she actually demonstrated where to find that and how to go about finding where any address is located within any school attendance area. Mrs. Conrad Peters and Mr. Helmberg talked to us about the Sheldon Nature Area. The Wisconsin DNR purchased 1,200 saplings being planted at the Sheldon Nature Area with committee assistance as well as Oakwood student assistance, as we saw tonight, to replace trees that were removed due to the emerald ash borer. Mrs. Stammen spoke to us about food service staffing. As the food service department continues to grow and expand, resulting in staffing needs, a request was made to increase the number of staff in order to accommodate the need. And finally, Mrs. Johnson spoke with us about a request to update the liquid damages, which I believe is in the employee handbook, in order to be consistent with school districts in our area. And finally, we met, excuse me, again last Thursday, April 18th, 7:30 a.m. Mrs. Conrad Peters presented a request for increasing staffing for English to speakers of other languages and as well as media specialist positions. In the case of the English speakers of other languages, or ESOL, the number of our students within district who speak other languages as immigrants has grown significantly, and we would be looking at over 800 students next year, which I think would be a record high from when I first became familiar with the program quite a few years ago. Mrs. Conrad Peters and Dr. Davis also provided with an administrative update, noting that the interview process was complete for the open administrator positions at Carl Traeger Middle as well as Tippler Middle. Alex Peaster is being recommended for the Carl Traeger Middle School principalship, and Becky Montour is being recommended for the Perry Tippler Middle School principalship. The interview process was recently started for the administrator positions at Franklin Elementary, Jacob Shapiro Elementary, and Carl Traeger Elementary. Our next meeting date is scheduled for May 9th, 2024 at 7:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to non-agenda related public forum. We have one speaker tonight, Mr. Took. And Mr. Took, everything that I normally say, you've signed your name to, so I'm not going to read it, and you can get on with your 3 minutes.
All right. My name is Matthew Took. I'm at 1679 Thornton Drive. I'd like to say hi to my buddy Greg, who's listening tonight. How refreshing it is to hear a little bit of back and forth about curriculum. I wasn't going to talk about this, but think about the idea that it's below the line to discuss curriculum. Does anybody really believe that? By the virtue of the fact that you're actually voting, that would indicate that you actually have an opinion. And I guarantee that the same people that don't think that anybody should have an opinion on curriculum, if there was a classical curriculum or a traditional curriculum, they would have an opinion. So when you hear things like that, it's your duty to call that out, no matter where you fall. Anyway, I came here today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the priorities that I think are the most important. And I really want to focus on today some of the different things that I got off the DPI website in terms of performance. I've been coming to the school board for 3 years, and I can see this school board take strong stands, whether it comes to lockdowns or masking. I've brought different sexually explicit books that are available in our libraries. Nobody bothers to either even ask me or engage. When it comes to building new facilities, this board has repeatedly said that they believe that they draw more students based on facilities. Ask a realtor why people choose to live where they live or what they want to know about a district. Is it what kind of facilities or is it the performance? And they will tell you it's based on performance. Right now at North High School, approximately 3/4 of the students in both English and math, 3/4 are at least 1, 2, or more grades below level. And we have been focused on building new buildings. We had a beautiful building in Merrill that is slated for demo. Drive down Jackson and take a look at Val Phillips. That's our priority. Just take a look at it. Take a look at the aesthetics of it and tell me what you think it looks like.
Mr. Took, we're almost at 3 minutes.
Okay. So the priority of the board has been backwards. We need to focus on performance in the classroom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the consent resolution agenda. The consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background material on each item or as discussed in a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion.
So moved.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Moved
by Szilagyi.
Herzog.
I didn't quite get that out. I was going to say.
You started to say
Approval of the
moved.
consent
Yeah.
agenda.
Your second.
Wyman.
Aye.
Carlin.
Aye.
DeWitt.
Aye.
Herzog.
Aye.
Hess.
Aye.
Szilagyi.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Thank you. Moving on to number 13. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to move on to 13.
Right?
I'll second that.
And DeWitt. Kelly, did you have some comments about 13?
I just had a few questions.
Sure.
In regards to this. So in looking, in looking at the information and the report that you had provided, I also did have an opportunity to take a look at DPI's website as far as the number of students. And if I'm looking at this correctly, it seems that there may be a discrepancy. I believe that DPI's website shows that there's 640 EL learners at this time, and the report that was sent was showing 610. I'm wondering what happened there. Did we lose the 30 students from September to current?
So when you go on to the DPI's website, you are in what's called Wise-Public Portal, and the data that is out there is taken during a snapshot. So it is certified data. So at that point in time, that was the number of students that were captured in that snapshot. And so students come and go, and it fluctuates from either the month, by the year, etc. So that 610 number is from that particular moment in time and that snapshot. So our data that we have, that I took, the latest data was when I had in here the 610 students, is where we currently are sitting. To 610 were at the beginning of the school year, and 808 students is what we are predicting for the 24-25 school year, with 90 potential ELs.
So that leads me to my second question then. Where
Sure.
are we getting that? How do we know that? Is that based off of a census? Is that based off of current? I mean, how do we know that we are going to increase 198 students essentially?
Correct. So we keep track in our student information system of families that enroll every single day. So just this past week, we had 2 families enroll with 6 total children. So we are constantly keeping track of that. So in our current numbers and for our census next year, as students and families are enrolling, and by the way, if we haven't completed online registration, please do so. But we keep track of those numbers, and so rolling from one grade level to the next, and based on what our community partners, World Relief Resettlement Group, is telling us, this is where we're going to be at, but these are the tight numbers that we have based on current students in the classroom and students that are in 4K in kindergarten going forward.
So if I'm understanding, World Relief is coming saying we are going to have an increase of 198 students.
No, we are predicting, even without the 198 students, from 610 in the fall, from where we were, to where we're predicting to be at 808. World Relief isn't telling us that. We are predicting that based on the demographics inside of our census of students that we are expecting to be English learners.
So I pulled some numbers and looked at data going back, I think it was 5 years. So over that period, I think it's like an increase of 100 students. I guess I'm just, from last year to this year, and then this year to next year, I'm not, how can we go from 100 increase to all of a sudden 200? And I guess I'm questioning again where that, how do we know that?
So based on the students that have enrolled from the snapshot time in the fall, from the beginning of the year to where we are now, that is our predicted number. So if you look at the number, if you look at the number here, let me find I want to accurately say this. So, so going from 610 to 808, 90 of them are the potential ELs that we have enrolled in 4K. And then the second part of that number is then if you subtract, and I'm not going to do math on camera very quickly. So then if you take that number, it's really going from 610 to the 700 number off the top of my head. And so that 90, that increase is really coming from our youngest learners that are enrolled in 4K and that are in our census numbers, that are currently not enrolled in school.
But we know that they're coming.
We know that they're
Because
coming.
they're
They're children
registered.
and they're coming to
And they're
school.
registered.
Correct.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
It's a huge number of 4Ks.
Yeah, can
Yes.
I ask a clarifying question that I
Yes.
think might help? So you're saying there are 90 that are potential ELs? And
Correct.
is that because they are in our 4K program?
Correct.
We know that their primary language spoken at home is not English, but they have not gone through the testing process
Correct.
to qualify?
Because we cannot screen for identifying a student as EL, and we are required to do that until kindergarten.
Yes.
So, but we also know that families have siblings, right?
Yeah.
And so the students that are in 4K, we are projecting that they are going to be potential ELs.
Yeah, and that's the same with special education services too, correct?
Correct.
So we know students are coming from 4K into kindergarten and have these needs, but they have not gone through the quite
Correct.
lengthy process of testing and assessment
Correct.
to move them
Correct.
officially into these categories.
Correct.
All right,
Mhm.
that makes sense, thanks.
Are we projecting an enrollment increase then?
We will see.
Maybe.
Dr. Herzog?
There could be several sources of data that would help answer your question, Mrs. DeWitt. One is that the DPI data, there's a lag there. They don't
Mhm.
update as frequently as we do in the system. We update
Correct.
basically daily.
Every day.
I talked with a woman who's been very involved with refugee populations over a period of years, who had recently informed me that 2 families came in, and between the 2 families, there were more than a dozen children, school-aged
Correct.
children.
Mhm.
Another thing that we can look at is World Relief and what their trends have been as far as sponsoring families into the region. And the Diocese of Green Bay has also been a player in terms of bringing in refugees or immigrants. And so, again, we can look at the trend data in terms of what's been happening there. And then the last thing we can, or another thing, maybe not the last thing, but another thing that we can look at is how many 3-year-olds who are turning 4 this year from this from these families where the primary home language is something other than English, how many of them are now eligible to come into our 4K program? So there are lots of sources of data, and the DPI wouldn't be able to tell you how many children are turning 4 and thus can come into our program.
Okay.
So the DPI data are good, but they don't tell the whole story. Thank you.
Dr. Hess?
Thank you. So I looked at this one very carefully, in part because there was this new concept to me of transfer of service, and that becomes an exemption for the calculation of our revenue limits. And so to me, when we do that, then there isn't necessarily additional dollars coming from the state, and so this one, at least for that first year, is almost entirely going to fall upon the local property taxpayers. And so when I see that, I feel kind of compelled to really look at that's something I'm not necessarily excited by. And so I looked at, I think we had roughly, we're saying we have 610 right now, that's what's in the report, ESOL students, and we had roughly 23 teachers, I believe, ESOL teachers. And so when I go from 610 to 808, and I look at adding roughly the 9 additional teachers, well, that increase is in proportion to the increase in students. And so that, to me, it made sense, the concept of the transfer of service per se. Except if that initial base number is in fact incorrect, if it is in fact 640, or even something higher, then it's not clear to me that transfer of service is appropriate. And then we're now talking about, it could be the case that some of these kids are 3 years old, they haven't hit the system yet, and then I go, but is that a transfer? That the transfer of service requires us to take somebody new from a different government agency and bring it in here. And so then I go, well, is a kid that's 3 years old, is that actually a transfer of service? And so, I am content at supporting this, but what I am wondering is, what is the risk of if that calculation is wrong, if by the end of the year, we're actually at 680, and right now, we're committing to the 9 teachers, if at the end of the year, we are actually at, say, 680, now all of a sudden that calculation in terms of what we can apply for in terms of transfer of service is going to be, I believe, much smaller than potentially. And so that's where I wonder is kind of what happens to us if that number turns out to be substantially different. We've committed to the 9 teachers. Is there any
It's
additional
actually 7,
resources for
excuse me, point of order, it's only 7 teachers.
It's 7 teachers, 2 bilingual teaching assistants, where we would be looking at the target language for students.
Yeah.
So a couple of different things. The 90 potential ELs, we do have data about 3-year-olds, et cetera, but the 90 potential ELs are students that are currently in our 4K programs that we are expecting or there potentially could be identified when they come into kindergarten. So that 90 is a real number going forward. That's number one. The second thing is we use a formula-based staffing model. And so when we look at this, we have a caseload. We like to look at a caseload of 24 English learners for 1 ESOL teacher. And so if we do the math and where we currently are right now, we're actually a little bit understaffed according to that formula. We add these additional students in, we will be hitting the 1 to 25 caseload ratio. If we don't hit that number, then it's our responsibility through staffing to actually reduce or not hire additional teachers because we are not at that staffing number. So that's the safety valve when we talk about this, is that staffing has to be based on student enrollment. And so if we don't have that student enrollment, then we don't hire 7 teachers.
And yes, I mean, there's always, it's a forecast, right? So
Right.
it's just like predicting the weather. If you can nail that every time, then good luck. But it's accurate, to the best of our ability, again, from who we can identify as we're moving forward. If we would not, bring on the support and we would undershoot it and not do a transfer of service, then those services would be reactionary. We would be hiring, and the students showed up. We would be hiring people, during next school year, and without the transfer of service, that would come from our Fund 10 operational budget, which we'll pull from other programming. So this is the most proactive, way that we can do the forecasting with the best data that we have. And then, as Juliet said, we just assess that as we would get to the end of next year, middle of next year, as we're doing staffing for the following year.
Correct.
So that's what the process is.
Thank you, great conversation. Call the roll.
Yeah, Carlin.
Aye.
DeWitt.
Aye.
Herzog.
Aye.
Hess.
Aye.
Szilagyi.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Wyman.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And individually considered resolution number 15, approval of equity plan. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Right? Carlin?
All right, so I'll just highlight a couple of things. We had some good discussion at our last meeting related to the equity plan. There was a couple of requests as we were moving forward with it. One was to identify a start date. We had a due date on the earlier draft, so a start date's been identified for our actions. As you can read in the report, many of those start dates have already started, so they were in progress, so we thought just post-dating that didn't make sense. So things that are in progress. And then there are some things that we have scheduled, because we can't do 40 things at once, as we're moving forward, have some things on the agenda or on our calendars as we're going. The other thing that I wanted to point out is at the very last page, there's a supplemental document that indicates specifically our schedule for our ICS for equity work that we've been working on really for the last 3 or 4 years. And so there's a 3-year schedule that's outlined in that document, which outlines the modules within that program that are taken on. So that's a process that we've gone through both at a district level and some of our staff teams. So we're continuing to come back to that work because that equity work is an evolution. You're never really arrived. And so even though some of the modules people have already gone through, we have more experiences to be able to process those as we're moving forward. Dr. Herzog has also brought up the Community Ally Opportunity Academy, which is the community engagement session, and so we've got that scheduled to get restarted when we get to next October. So we'll be inviting people who have previously participated in that, along with some new members. And again, Mr. Miller will be facilitating, focusing in on that. And Dr. Coleman is also a trained facilitator nationally in our ICS for equity work. So we're in good hands along those lines. I will just say, and again, I want to thank Mr. Miller just for his hard work on this equity plan. This is as comprehensive of an equity plan as you'll see in any K-12 system. And so I think it validates, his hard work over this year, but it also answers the question from a board and community standpoint of what does this position actually do? Right? Because sometimes there's questions that diversity, equity, and inclusion is in the cloud somewhere. This provides some specific actions that you'll see that in some of these Mr. Miller is directly responsible for, and the ones that he's not specifically responsible for, he's working with the directors to oversee the management and the progress of each one of these areas. So this is a document that I would ask that we use on a regular basis from a system standpoint, as you would have any questions of coming back to just continue to validate, Mr. Miller's work in that position and the commitment to that position overall. This is a document that we can use and that you'll get, updates on as we're moving forward. So I just want to be able to provide that little bit of context and some of the improvements that we made from our last conversation.
And I want to thank you and Mr. Miller for reacting to the concerns that the board had, putting start days on, putting the supplemental report on the end to get the community engaged again. And I think this report is even better now. I'm glad as a board we were able to kind of look at it. We were able to look at it, make suggestions, and you reacted to it, and I appreciate that.
I think
You could go ahead.
First.
Mrs. Carlin?
He can go first.
Mr. Hess?
Thank you. I didn't have a chance to comment last time, so I will comment. And I would echo a lot of the things that you all said, that I do believe that Mr. Miller put together a very comprehensive, I understand the types of things that we can be looking at, and I understand what interventions or what actions that we are taking per se. From my standpoint, where I struggle with it is that a lot of the things say, here are the things that we want to measure, and it seems like what we are measuring is the fact that we are actually implementing the intervention that we have written down and said. So for example, if we take things like enrollment in classes and programs, the AP and the CAP stuff, we've detailed out, these are the people who are going to look at these things and try to make sure that we are doing the best that we can to make sure that everybody is getting the best opportunity to enroll in those programs and benefit from that. But I want to do more than understand that we are doing all of these interventions. I want to see that it actually works. And so I would want to see that, in fact, hey, this is where we're at in terms of the number of, say, EOL students that were in the CAP program, and that at some point in time we look at it again and be able to see that distinction per se. And so, I went through and looked at the plan and said, hey, there were 16 things that Mr. Miller and everybody was probably involved in identifying, and of those, I found 8 of them that I felt like there were actually quantitative measures that we could look at. And of those 8, there were only 2 that were written down that we were going to evaluate. So for example, the achievement, we said we're going to increase by 10%. My one question is, what are we going to increase? It doesn't say, are we increasing iReady? Are we increasing the forward exam? Is it math? Is it English language arts? I'm assuming it's both. And by what time are we going to do that? is my question for that one. And then the other one that I saw was in the disciplinary stuff, the out-of-school suspensions. I think we wrote down that it was going to happen. We're going to quantitatively evaluate that once a month, and that I very much appreciated. But I kind of go, there's a whole bunch else out there that I feel like we need to be measuring. And so I'm going to make a motion. And I want to make a motion to amend the resolution. And specifically, I want to amend the resolution to say, be it further resolved that the Board of Education directs administration to update the equity plan to include an evaluation plan by the end of the summer. And so I'm saying, I want to improve this, but I just want to make sure that we've got a plan in place for how we are evaluating the success, that it's not just that we are evaluating. Well, I should probably stop there because I think I made a motion, I need a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Discussion?
And again, it is to say, we need to, in my opinion, we need to look past just, are we doing things? But we need to evaluate, are the things that we are doing effective? And I would just ask that
Could we have Dr. Davis respond to that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think that's a good observation. And again, part of this is our first time, through the equity plan. Where I see a lot of the evaluation happening then is as we get to our monthly workshops in different categories, and we're looking at our subgroups, we're starting to pick through, how is some of the actions from this plan then impacting our reading scores or our math scores or our placement scores in AP, like that type of thing. That's in my mind where that conversation and where that evaluation would come through, because that's part of what's I think tricky about this plan. It is very comprehensive. It's not like it's certainly not siloed, and it's intentionally not done that way, right? And that it should be overreaching. So as we would look at, again, the assessment or the evaluation plan, I would look at connections that are made like in different workshops to be able to identify those, is what I would look at, and then being able to come back to what my vision was is as you'd have conversations in those monthly workshops, and at this time next year, when you're bringing the plan back on how we did, then Mr. Miller would be bringing back evidence of progress, in these particular areas. And some of that is going to be, quantitative, some of that's going to be qualitative, and then we just work as a team, we just work to make sure that, are we getting what we want, are we not, how do we make adjustments to that, is how so that's at least how I was framing up, what the evaluation process would look like. So to put a particular evaluation document together, I would just need some more time to be able to think through, how that would fit. But just knowing that there is evaluation that's kind of baked in here.
Mr. Wright.
Just so I can be clear, and I agree we should be measuring everything as well, because if you don't, you generally don't get improvement. But what was the date?
I had said by the end of summer.
By the end of summer?
That would be 4 months.
So essentially, you'd be evaluating data for the last 30 days of school?
No, I'm not saying do the evaluation by then. I am saying just come up with a plan and look at
how it's going to be evaluated.
Where are we at in terms of baseline, and just what is the plan? And so kind of detailing out what Dr. Davis suggested, that this is when we can expect to see the stuff.
Okay.
And what we're planning on looking at.
Isn't that what we do? I mean, this is the next meeting. I thought that's the point that we had gotten to, that every month is laid out with the expectation we have of the information coming back. And I didn't print all of it out, but at the beginning, someone scroll back really fast.
I've been searching KPIs.
Future agenda board items, it goes until, well, it has annually, it goes through June 26th, and then it has the yearly agenda items, and I believe all of the different areas that are on there are in here, and we get reports, and those are numerical data reports. Am I correct?
Yes, and so what I'm hearing is, like, let's get that packaged, right? And that would be
Get it packaged and say what it is that we are planning on measuring. That I could look at that calendar, and I agree that this shouldn't be difficult to lay out, but then have the administrative team think about what are those numerical measures that they believe are best to represent the fact that they feel like they're making progress. And so that's not detailed in there, and I'm just hoping to put it all in one place.
Yeah, and that would be detailed inside of the, like, workshop reports, like the KPI reports and the action plans is where that would be identified. So, so pulling that all together, again, that's taking 40 of these measures to be able to pull that together.
Barb.
Dr. Herzog.
Thank you. I agree with everything that Dr. Davis said, and there's qualitative data, there's quantitative data. I will not support this motion. I believe that we have sufficient direction with due dates. So, for example, if I look at number 39, which is on page 16 of this report, examining the current complaint process to identify areas for improvement and ensure visibility, I'm not sure how we would quantify that, other than to say we're going to expect that the persons responsible listed there will take care of that, will bring us a report in August, and we'll thumbs up or thumbs down. So I'm going to vote against this motion. I don't think it's necessary.
I just hate to put, I mean, this is pretty comprehensive, and while I understand what you're saying, I think that we have built in already in the KPIs numerical data that we look at all the time. I mean, that's why we put this calendar together, to make sure that we were comprehensive and looking at everything at least once a year.
Sorry.
Yes.
I've had my hand up a couple times. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I moved to a new side of the room. I got to figure out. No, I was going to say the same thing, Ms. Wyman, that I feel like with our KPIs, I really appreciate your point about making sure we're looking at the data and that we have measurable information. I believe that that is built into the KPIs. I believe that the more we continue to ask for all these data points, the less focused we can be on the KPIs, which is, to me, the priority. So I wouldn't want to ask for more somewhere else that would take away from our actual strategic plan that's guiding the whole work of the district. So while I appreciate the conversation on the point, I also would not be able to support this motion because I want it to focus on the work we've done with the KPIs.
Mrs. DeWitt? Ms. Carlin? Okay. Call roll, please.
All right. The roll in order to change the verbiage of Resolution 15. DeWitt?
Aye.
Herzog?
No.
Hess?
Aye.
Szilagyi?
Nay.
Wright?
No.
Wyman?
No.
Carlin?
No.
Resolution fails. I'm sorry, motion fails.
So then we're back
Okay,
to the
now
original.
we're back to the original.
I did have a comment.
Mrs. Carlin?
Are we ready to kind of switch directions on this topic?
We have to vote.
Well, we have to vote on
Yeah, we have to vote on it.
Original proposal.
Okay.
Well, but your question's about the original proposal.
No, it's not.
Oh.
Well, then, are we still discussing then the original then?
We're still discussing
Yes.
the
Yes,
original.
discussing the
We're back.
original.
Yes.
No, I appreciate all your comments about KPIs. I would suggest that what I'm looking for is intermediary steps to demonstrate that we're actually going to get to it, rather than waiting to the end of the year. And, for example, last November, we saw the forward exam and we heard, well, gee, if this were in business, we would fire somebody for this sort of result. And so looking at those intermediary steps, rather than once a year or whatever that calendar is, I feel like sometimes we're going to need to see a little bit more. Again, I appreciate totally the work that has been done. I appreciate this plan. I just feel like it isn't complete. And so I'm going to not support the plan, only because I feel like it is incomplete, but I do feel like you did an excellent job, Mr. Miller, in putting this together, and I do appreciate everything that you've done, so.
Okay. Yes,
else?
call the roll.
Herzog.
Aye.
Hess.
No.
Salaji.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Wyman.
Aye.
Carlin.
Aye.
DeWitt.
No.
Resolution carries.
Thank you. Great discussion. Request for future agenda items. Mrs. Carlin.
I had one, and it's related to the equity plan. I appreciate that not everyone fully understands the role of the school board, but our power is policy. And as we approve our equity plan this evening, I was reflecting on the equity non-negotiables that we adopted March 29, 2023. And I would like to see the policy committee review this policy to add verbiage related to what happens if you violate our equity or non-negotiables. Now, obviously, we are not going to micromanage the employees, but I feel like adding a statement to that equity non-negotiable that we have a zero tolerance policy for violating the equity non-negotiables would be a strong statement and make our policy even more impactful. So I will be suggesting that at the next committee meeting for policy. And if you have strong feelings about that, please attend. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
When is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
The next policy meeting is,
It's toward the end of
Towards the
May,
end
I
of-
think,
yeah.
the middle of May.
All right. I'll see it on my calendar. Okay.
Announcements, please. Any announcements? There are a lot of activities coming up from now until the end of school. Look at the website.
Good stuff.
That's right. Send everyone back to the website. Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Wright and Salaji.
Yes.
Hess.
Aye.
Salaji.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Wyman.
Aye.
Carlin.
aye.
Aye.
Herzog.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you very much.
All right, everyone have a good night.